My
morning.
landlord is shining the sun on the side of my building and causing gunshot noises in the middle of the night when I'm trying to sleep. Doesn't he know I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work?
So during the whole like kind of COVID, um, court hearing process that they came up with, and on the transitioning to Zoom and everything, the Ontario government has used like 3 and 4, possibly more, different filing systems. So some of them,
That makes
they
sense.
they didn't track any. They can't track. Like if you read the ombudsman report, which came out, which is, I don't recommend. Well, you should read it if you're a nerd like me, but not like a light reading. But essentially what they said is that some of these legacy systems that they first came out with when they were trying to digitize the landlord and tenant board, they have no way of tracking how long they've been on the books, how long people have been waiting, and what the matter is about. Okay. So that to me is a big problem. So, and a lot of the ones that are put off, and I mean, let's talk a little bit about tenants, are the tenant cases. So as much as the landlords are whining and complaining about how long they have to wait and they have these $50,000 arrears,
Oh, right.
if you're a tenant with legitimate maintenance concerns, right?
Mm-hmm. And like a big building that's owned by a multi-billion-dollar company, and you're just trying to get your fair share.
Mice killed,
Yeah.
maybe your mice killed.
Yeah.
Who knows? Or your ceiling fixed.
Yeah.
Or like it rains inside or whatever.
Who's worse, you think, though? Like mom and pop investors with regards to that, or big companies that own big apartment buildings? Who pushes off maintenance?
There's a few building owners that are, their reputation's pretty bad.
But they're trying to empty the building.
Big players,
no?
exactly, and they've got some real cases against them because of that. Yeah.
But typical rental companies, I'd say they'd
professional.
They'd be on it like pretty quick.
Yeah, they are, but sometimes they're not,
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's something that, like, I mean, it can't be avoided. Like, for example, we had one in a condo building that was built, and when the sun would shine on the building, it sounded like gunshots in the apartment. So every
my
morning,
landlord is shining the sun on the side of my building and causing gunshot noises in the middle of the night when I'm trying to sleep. Doesn't he know I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work?
Well,
that's what it said.
I'm not paying. I'm not paying this month.
That's what it said.
You rectify.
I'm not paying until he fixes this problem.
Yeah, what the hell?
So I mean, that's like, so sometimes it's not necessarily like, it can take a long time. Like if you have, like, not all problems in buildings you can fix like that. You could just call, like, it's a leaky tap, you can call the plumber, but what if it's something major in the stack, or like, not everything is simple, like.
No, but things take longer when the landlord is behind every single month because they bought something stupid and they hate it, versus, somebody owns a good piece of property that's making money every month. They'll fix things, I think, generally in a different way, and in a different timely manner, right?
We all know that the cap rates on some of the buildings that changed hands were at 3%, and interest rates are at 6% now. And so, when those buildings refinance, like, it's a huge problem, because, like, how do you feed 400 units at 7%? You're losing 4% a month on $10 million. Like, how the hell are you going to fund that? And I mean, I've worked in buildings like that where people overpaid. I work for this doctor. I mean, he bought a building, and it was, I did the spreadsheet for him. I did the calculations. I'm like, dude, like, your building.
What are you doing? Yeah.
$10,000 a month. Like, that's how much I need. And then he would say things like, oh, well, I put 8,000 already this month. I'm like, you're short 2,000. Like, and so, like, in that building, I actually ended up like it was like the worst job ever, because I was like a hero and a zero. So, like, the guy didn't want to pay for maintenance. So he had like one guy turning over units. So if you're a property manager, you want all your places ready to rent on the 10th. So let's say you have 10 people move out. You want all your units done by the 10th. So you can't have one guy fixing 10 units and having them all ready for the 10th so that you can rent them for the end of the month.
How many units was that building? Sorry, Rachel.
That one was like 72, but we had a major issue there because they had electric heat in the unit. So like, and at that time, Toronto Hydro used to bill every 2 months. So you could tell by the level of, so people would just leave because in the winter their hydro bill was like $800 and they just didn't have the money to pay it. So they would go like either short the rent, and they weren't smart enough to pay $400 every month. So it was just we had a lot of like turnover because of that.
Yeah.
So that was so those are kind of things that happen. And then so like every month I would be short. So then, you know, he'd say, well, you know, we're not going to do, you know, we're going to use just the one guy. And then we get behind and then things wouldn't rent. And I'd go show him, I'm like, how am I supposed to rent this? It's disgusting. There's still like dirt and dust and not clean. And, you know, because we're using one guy, like it makes no sense. And then he'd be, but that was like a money saving initiative because the guy was on salary or whatever. Then I wasn't able to rent it. Then he'd be like, oh, you're a piece of shit. You can't rent anything. And I'd just be like, okay, well, you know, like have a look at these and tell me if you could rent them, you know, who would live here? And then they'd be like, oh yeah, okay. So then they'd be like an initiative, like the next month to, okay, we're going to get all your units ready when you need them. Okay. And then they'd all get rented, you know, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, Rachel's great. And then the next month, the cycle would start again, you know, but the real problem is that the money is not there. Like the guy has to put in 10 grand a month every month. That's 120 grand a year, right? To feed his building. And it's like,
it's an expense property. It's not a income property.
72 units.
It's
Imagine
not
you
fun.
own 40.
It's not fun losing money every month and knowing it.
Especially when that's the property. It's not like it's much different than if it's like, okay, 1 month I got to chip in. But if that's literally, it's like, this is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
you
like
know,
there's lots of those out there,
shoveling
guys.
coal
Every
into the
condo
furnace.
that was purchased pre-construction is closing, negative cash flow. They're putting in $1,500 a month, maybe more.
We keep talking. We've talked about this a million times. Why the fuck were people buying it? I would always get these pro formas where in the bottom corner it would have this appreciation section, and it would put in some kind of a multiplier, and it was like, well, this thing really sucks, but when you look down here and you add appreciation for 5 years at 5% or whatever per year, this thing really hums in year 6, right? And people were buying it based on
and the rental rates too are the same. So for example, the place that Rachel's talking about on Jarvis at over $5 a square foot, when the average in Toronto is maybe 4, you know, that was on a performer when he bought that pre-con because it was 3. And they said by the time this is built, it'll be 5. So he's like, I'm going to get $2 grand for this unit. And
rental guarantee.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our clips channel. Why don't you go and check out some more clips? We got lots of other good content somewhere over here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Boom.
That was good.
That was good. I like that. That was good.